this poor unfortunate soul.
Hello, and welcome to Poor Unfortunate Podcast. I'm Connor Perkins.
And I'm Caroline Ameti.
Welcome to all of our returning listeners. It's great having you back here with us. And welcome to any new listeners. Thank you so much for hitting play. Please also remember to hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast. And when you get to the end of the episode, make sure that you hit 5 stars and leave a written review wherever you're listening to the podcast. That does so much for us in terms of helping other people find the podcast, being seen in search results, all that good stuff. Costs you nothing, takes like no time. So it's just like, why not do it, you know?
Why not?
Take a crazy chance. Okay, so we're not doing our regularly scheduled next rotation for this episode because you all probably knew this is coming. We needed to do a full bonusy episode dedicated to the live action Little Mermaid that just came out. And there wasn't really a great place to sort of like fit it into our episode format cycle to be able to talk about everything that we kind of want to talk about. So we're basically just creating this new sort of like bonus episode. We're calling it a debrief. Maybe we'll do this in the future again. Maybe we won't. But this is going to be our full debrief of the live action The Little Mermaid that premiered May 26th. Caroline and I saw it on May 25th. I saw an advanced screening. Caroline saw it May 26th. And we're recording this on June 1st because
something happened in the middle.
Something happened in the middle.
So we each saw it around the opening day. And we were like, we got to see it together. And as many of you know, Connor's in Maryland. I'm in New York. And I was like, okay, I think we'll make it happen. I wasn't sure when or how. And then, so today's Thursday. On Tuesday afternoon. Connor was texting me about 4DX showings because we had Connor had seen it in standard for the first time. I saw it in 3D, mostly just because that was all that was available because it was selling out in New York City. We really wanted to see it in 4DX, and very few theaters have 4DX. And we realized one of them was the Regal in Times Square.
And so I just bought a train ticket. I went up, I saw a show, I went to Margaritaville with Caroline and her husband, Christopher. And then we all went and we saw Little Mermaid in 4DX at 10:20 p.m.
with an audience that was fully loving it. Like, that audience was unreal.
It was best. Y'all, if you have a chance to go see a movie in New York City, I highly recommend it because people in New York, especially with like a musical like this, there was entrance applause for a film. There was applause at the end of every musical number.
There were some like yes and woohoos. Like,
it was like it was theater.
There was me screaming as we got punched in the back by the 4DX seats.
So if you don't know what 4DX is, essentially like if you were to do Star Tours but make that the whole movie for like a theater experience, for like a theatrical. So we watched The Little Mermaid and we were getting yeeted around and there was like sensory stuff. Splash water, wind, strobe light.
Like lightning flashes. Oh my God. I've never seen anything in 4DX. It was kind of amazing. I don't know if I can go back.
It was really amazing. It was really, really cool. So we did that. Unfortunately, it's looking right now because 4DX is so limited in terms of how many theaters have them and what they can show. It's seeming that by the time that you're listening to this, they are going to be converting 4DX stuff over for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse 2. Hopefully, maybe they'll go back to Little Mermaid again.
Yeah. It's just calls for it. There's storms, there's swimming, there's battles. Like, what? It's perfect for 4DX.
Yeah. So, we saw that in 4DX. So now Caroline and I, in a week's time, have seen this movie twice. And so this is going to be our mostly stream of consciousness review of the movie. Not like a critical review, just like talking about
feelings,
what we saw, feelings, thoughts.
Yeah.
Desires, memories. And if it doesn't sound like some of our normal episodes, that's because they're heavily edited and
written out and planned.
Things are written out, and we have some. This isn't for you. Like, just, it's okay. You can hit pause and you can wait for the next full. But if you just want more of us, like, just talking and truly just like shooting shit, that's what this episode is. So just like,
hello,
lock in. So we'll start, I guess, with just like some overall thoughts. I think we're in a consensus here. I loved it.
I loved it too. I really did.
I thought it was like perfect.
I think I knew. I don't know. When did I talk about what New Year's episode was it when I was like, what I'm most looking forward to is any news about this movie? I think it was 2021.
That was 2021.
Yeah. So like I've always had a gut feeling that this was going to be amazing. I don't know why, because the live action, remakes have been a bit of a mixed bag for me personally. But then when that teaser came out with Hallie's riff, I was like, this is gonna be it. And it really was. It
really was.
Yeah. And Connor texted me and was like, prepare yourself for the first 30 seconds of the film. You're gonna cry. And I was like, what? Like, what could possibly happen in the first 30 seconds of the film?
Oh, wait, hold on.
Spoilers.
Before we continue,
yes.
There are going to be spoilers in this episode. So if you haven't watched it, slap yourself across the face and go buy a ticket, go see it, and then listen to this episode, because you need to go watch it. You need to go watch it, support this movie, support the amazing people who made it, all that good stuff. Let the world know that we liked this. So go watch the movie, go do it. It's worth it many times over.
So yes, thank you for calling that out. So from here on out, here we go. So honestly, and this was in a way, I'm talking about this because it started the film off on exactly the right foot for me. And it was like, in a weird way, the highlight of the film for me, one of the highlights was putting a Hans Christian Andersen quote up with the roaring ocean behind it. When I was younger, like obviously I was obsessed with the Disney Little Mermaid, but I had a very like adult, beautifully illustrated storybook of the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale. And it had me in its grasp. So to see that, I did indeed burst into tears. Ironically, Connor is correct. Yes.
I gasped. I started tearing up at that moment. And for me, I was saying to Caroline, because we also really haven't talked about the movie all that much.
We've been trying really hard to save it.
But that was one of the things that I have told Caroline, is that I really think that everyone can see themselves in this movie. I see myself more in this version of The Little Mermaid than the animated version. I think part of it is because of that acknowledgement of the source material right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, the Hans Christian Andersen story of The Little Mermaid is a story about unrequited love that Hans Christian Andersen had for another man. So it just immediately sort of brought some of the queerness of the story in. And I was in it, and it's just beautiful. They chose the
everything,
right font.
Yes, of everything. The font was perfect, and of every idea from the original story that they could have pulled, I thought it was fascinating that they chose mermaids not being able to cry, not having tears. And I liked how we could probably get to it, and we'll go in chronological order. I loved where that went and how it came back at the end. And honestly, I could have used even more. If we dove even more into the Hans Christian Andersen source, I would have loved it. It's dark and it's kind of twisted, but like what a great thing to pull from it. I thought it was fascinating. And like, again, just one little tiny thing to skip ahead. It's so funny to me how we're launching with the conceit of mermaids not having tears. But there was one take of Javier Bardem before he destroys the grotto. And the take of him is so good, and you see tears about to pour from his eyes. And I love that the editors were just like, this is such a good take. He's crying. We got to keep it in.
Yeah,
this
but
mermaid can have
we're
tears.
not gonna let them stream down his face or anything like that. Like they're welling, but like they're not gonna let it like just go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we move past the gorgeousness of the ocean and the quotes into the ship. The men are trying to like throw harpoons at
and
a mermaid.
starting on that dark, violent thing. Again, 10 out of 10 for me. You know I love that. Twisted, dark, yes. Love that.
And they're basically like hunting a mermaid, and then Prince Eric is like, no, it's a freaking dolphin.
And Prince Eric's just like, hello, I'm hot.
And Prince Eric also is like up in the sails with the guys doing
one
the
of the
work.
crew. Mm-hmm.
I really liked that. His whole philosophy of like being a leader who leads with people and like so
and
good.
Feeling like he doesn't belong like in his role of the prince, just like starting us off with like them, he and Ariel being on similar journeys of not fitting in. So good.
Yeah. Good shit. And then I loved how they used the spyglass that he takes out and gets knocked into the water as a sort of homage to the animated film of the fish that escapes and starts going down for the main title sequence. And in the same sort of way, the spyglass falls down like that little fish. And we go into the score, Triton's Kingdom, which is melodically similar to the main titles, but a little bit different and a little bit like more mysterious and dark as we go through the like actual parts of the sea. And then we start seeing glimpses of mermaids. And then we get into Atlantica. Also, this whole concept of like the coral moon,
love that
being
reminds me very much of the Twisted Tale that we loved so much, and like the ocean being so tied to the moon. Like hell yeah, baby.
Yes, and a lot of like it felt like they were really bringing in a lot of like the mythology of mermaids. That there is an established mythology of mermaids, the sea gods in this world that maybe we as an audience don't fully know, but everyone else seems to know and feel very confident in. And so we can go, oh, okay, we're locked in. And that there's this coral moon where King Triton brings all of his daughters back from around their waters around the world, which I thought was such a great way of getting such a diverse cast into, because of course all of the mermaids are going to look different because they're all from different waters from around the world as his daughters. And these mermaids,
this Atlantica, I think I was expecting the palace reveal.
Gold shiny.
Yeah. And at first I was like, but this Atlantica to me is so much like they're really, again, now that we're working with the animated Ariel makes little trips up to the surface secretly. This Ariel hasn't been up there. She's stuck deep underwater. I felt that. And I didn't, like, when I think about the animated palace, I'm like, oh, I want to be in there. Like, I want to go to the concert. I didn't want to be here. I was like, I want to get out of here. Even though like the ocean life is very beautiful, I was like, it's very suffocating and it's kind of like a little bit like dark and like dank.
Yeah,
like
it's
not
dark,
fun.
It's organic, and you're exactly right. You can tell that we're operating under the rule that King Triton has put in place since the death of his wife, who was murdered by humans, that no one can go to the surface, like even touch the surface. You have to stay underwater. You can't pop your heads up or anything like that. So Ariel has not ever been to the surface. Everything that she knows of the above world is from what has fallen below.
Very interesting.
I think to put us really, really low, like almost like ancient, deep down in the water.
You feel it on top of you during those scenes. It feels heavy.
Everything. It's very like coral folk, like lots of like barnacles and things like that. And I think it's also really telling that like Ursula, her lair is not just like inside of like a sea dragon, but it's like a really monstrous sort of like Mariana's Trench, like sea dinosaur.
Yeah.
Jaws open situation. It feels real. It feels like
it does.
If mer people were real in this world, it feels like this feasibly would be where they're living. There's not a lot of parallels to human architecture in the mer world because why would there be? They aren't human. So I
Yeah.
think they did a really, really cool job of really separating both worlds and taking things that are familiar to us as humans and taking them out of the equation in the mer world.
And not seeing a lot of other mer people, just like it further just makes her world feel very small and very lonely. Whereas, like, again, in the animated film, it feels a little bit bustling down there. There's a big concert. You don't really see anybody else besides her sisters and maybe one. I think you see like one other random mer person and King Triton.
There's a couple. There's a couple randos,
Not till
like
the end, of
servants
course.
and things like that.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about this movie versus the animated film, in the animated film, everyone wants to be under the sea and in Atlantica.
Very true.
And
I did not. Yeah.
And the song Under the Sea isn't really like a selling point on like for us, like, oh, you want to be under the sea because there's all these really cool things or anything. In this, it felt like Under the Sea was a selling point for us, where it's like we finally get to see the parts of the ocean that are really cool to look at. Because what we've seen so far has been pretty dangerous.
Yeah. Well, what did you think about the fact that in Under the Sea and in Kiss the Girl, we don't really have any other animals, sea creatures, etc., singing along in the songs? What did you think of the whole conceit of like we don't hear any other animals talk besides Flounder, Scuttle, and Sebastian? What did you think about that?
I actually really didn't think all that much on it. In many
I
ways,
only noticed it because when I first saw it and I watched Under the Sea, I super enjoyed it. I like that Ariel sings along. It felt very much like it was great. You really felt Sebastian trying to achieve something rather than it just being a fun party number for the story. You felt him really working to convince her. But I remember thinking, I'm like, I went and listened to the Broadway version after, I forget why. And it just like having those extra vocals makes it so much more fun. And then when you go back and listen to this without the group vocals, it feels a little small to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I definitely feel it being smaller. Visually, it is not at all.
Right.
Because visually, it's a feast. There's so much to look at.
There really is.
It's beautifully done. And I can understand why they would make the choice. Because I think it is coming to what is Under the Sea really about. And it's about Sebastian's work to sell Ariel on this. And it's more like all of these other animals are just sort of like going about their business as opposed to like joining in on the fun. Like, yes, there's dancing parts of it, but when you think about like the sea turtles and the clams that are dancing and things like that, they're all kind of doing their own thing. So it's sort of like he's referencing to the different places, like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, as opposed to like, hey, come help me sell her. Hey, come help me sell her. Like that sort of thing where the animated film is. So in some ways, I kind of like the fact that now we have we can see two different versions of it.
And I really enjoyed.
Works.
Yeah, I just enjoyed actually overall that one of the changes that was made for this movie, which is that in the potion that Ursula creates for Ariel, it also causes her to forget the fact that she has to get the prince to kiss her.
Yeah.
And so I love that Sebastian really had, his objectives were so much clearer.
Yeah.
Rather than just like, I think I'll help her. I guess I don't really have a choice. He was like, no, she really has no idea like what the end goal is here. And I have to really have to help her get it done. I liked that.
Yeah. I think the role of Sebastian was actually, if you could imagine it, like boosted a bit in this as well.
Yeah, it was.
Because there was a lot more for him to do. Like it wasn't like, oh, he could get around this or he's just keeping something from King Triton or anything. It's like he doesn't have time to go and tell King Triton about this, because if he leaves her, who knows how long it'll take for him to get to King Triton. It's like, no, he has to stay here with her and make this happen on his own. And he's trying to get through to her. And when that doesn't work, then it makes sense that, okay, now my only way to get through or make this happen is to get through to the prince. So yeah, no, I actually really, really liked what they did with the character of Sebastian in this. And listen, the animation of the crab, when you look at it to start, is quite jarring.
Yes.
as the movie goes on, though,
I agree.
all of these character designs make sense.
I
When
completely
you think
agree
about
with
it,
you.
when you think about it, there's no other way that they could have done this and made it make sense. And even still with Sebastian, there's a lot of expression.
There's a lot of comedy in that little crab. I laughed at his facial expression a lot. He was funny.
And David's voice performance does a lot too. Like just the timing of the like, hey girl, when they flip over the conch and he's there.
Yeah. So funny.
It's
I forgot about that. That part is so funny. Good for him.
It's so funny. Hey girl. It's
or
just
when they're
good.
like when she's showing him how to blow on the conch and he's like, yes.
He's like, yes. Oh. And also a lot of his, which I'm only assuming that they are somewhat ad-libbed, like when Sebastian sort of like talks to himself and like mutters to himself as he goes away.
Yes.
The stuff that David is doing is just really, really funny.
Yeah.
Just genuinely funny. I was surprised at how many times I found myself laughing out loud at Sebastian.
I laughed a lot at Scuttle too, and I've seen the behind the scenes of Awkwafina kind of riffing in the recording studio. I got a lot of laugh out loud moments from her, and I feel like for me, like Scuttle is sometimes. We got a little bit into this if you listen to our episode on the original cast recording of The Little Mermaid on Broadway. Scuttle for me sometimes can get a little annoying. I guess that's sort of the point sometimes.
That's
but
sort of the point.
I didn't find this Scuttle. I found the Scuttle like, and anytime she was annoying, it was funny rather than actually annoying to me. I thought it was really a great version of this character. I think it was like, it felt very fresh to me. And that's like in these, that's what I'm looking for. And
yeah.
And I guess like now that we've talked about these two, we should talk about Scuttlebutt.
Scuttlebutt is the new song that happens towards the end of the film when Ariel has been transformed into a human. And it's a rap between Scuttle and Sebastian, just like talking about how the prince has decided that he's going to marry somebody and thinking that it's Ariel when it's actually Vanessa. He's like kind of under a little bit of a spell with her. And I think regardless of your feelings about Scuttlebutt, there are a lot of people who don't like this song. There are
people
also
just
a lot of
want
people who
something to
love
crap
this song.
on. It's kind of catchy.
They didn't have a choice. You can't cast Awkwafina and David Diggs in a film and have them not rap.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
And,
that's what they do.
And I think it's, as we talked about in the original Broadway cast recording episode, other Scuttle songs have just never done it for me, and this is definitely the best of the batch. I guess Scuttle's a difficult character to write for because I think the song for Scuttle could be annoying the way that Scuttle is. So for me, like Positivity and Human stuff from Broadway, no, I did not like those. So this is better.
It was better, and I think part of it is also like the speed because I feel like
it doesn't last long too. Like
yeah, but also the thing with Scuttle in this, it isn't just that like Scuttle is a dumbass. It's almost like Scuttle's mind is going so fast because he has a bird brain. It just doesn't. It's not linking all of the pieces together, so there are like gaps in it, and it feels like that lends itself very well to rap, where rap is going so fast that like you can find yourself following a thread that the logic actually stopped making sense a couple lines back, but we're going with it. And listen, not every song in a movie has to be the end all be all. Like this is a fantastic, great song. Sometimes you can have a song that is just about moving the plot forward, and that's what this song is about.
Upbeat. Yeah, right.
Like this song is about, we need to relay a lot of information, and we've been doing a lot of talking, and we've had a lot of pretty ballads and things like that. So let's just change it up a little bit, do something fun, and get the information portrayed that needs to be portrayed. And so they do it. So it serves its function really well. It's catchy.
It's catchy.
Like you can't say that it's not.
I know.
Well, now that we've gone sufficiently all the way down this way, let's start making our way downtown, walking fast.
Faces pass.
Let's go backwards towards the beginning of the movie again so
Oh,
we can
right.
slowly work our way through. So we saw the shipwreck. We get introduced to Ariel. She's wonderful. Halle
The
Bailey
audience
is perfect.
burst into applause, as they should.
I think if we want to just like go into a song, we can go into Part of Your World. But before
Sure.
we do that, we might as well talk a tiny bit about Flounder since we've gone through some of the other supporting characters. Flounder is another character where it's like, when you look at it, what else could they have done?
I know.
Like, what else could they have done with this character?
Jacob Tremblay does such a great job. I felt
so
the same.
wonderful.
As off-put as I might have been by Flounder's appearance at first, I had the same soft and cuddly feelings for this Flounder because of his... There was one line, I can't remember it now, that made me feel so... Oh, I know. It's at the very end when he asks her when she's going to come back. It almost broke me.
There were a lot of little moments with him. Like the whole stop being such a guppy. Like we got a lot of the lines that we were looking for. That's another thing on just overall with this movie. It checked a lot of the boxes. It understood that we needed to see differentiation, but there are also moments that we are expecting that they need to deliver. And so we've got a lot of like shot for shot recreations.
I would have
We
taken
got
out
lines.
like 2 of those. 2 of the shot for shot. They were just like one too many to the point where I rewatched the animated right after and I was like, some of it is so damn similar. I could have done with a little bit less of that.
All right. But it knew that there were moments that we needed, moments that we were expecting. If we saw Little Mermaid and we didn't get the hair flip, people would have rioted. If she was on the rock singing Part of Your World reprise and the splash didn't happen, people would have revolted. Like, so I think there were a lot of things that were referenced from the original film that satisfied a lot of the purists. And also a lot of stuff that then they could riff on, where it's like, we took care of these things, so now we can play, now we can explore. And one of the things with that is in Flounder, a lot of new opportunities were found with this Flounder to show a little bit more of the character. Like I love when he sort of buries himself in the sand to try and hide from the shark. Because he's just like, oh, and he's like really scared. And I love when she takes the dingle hopper and puts it in his little fin.
Says,
and she goes, I'm King Flounder.
So cute.
I'm like, this is the cutest freaking thing ever.
That is adorable.
And listen, they didn't make him an actual flounder, because if he was an actual flounder, he'd have like 2 eyes on one side of his face.
Yeah, he'd be really, really weird looking.
So we're good. Fast forward ahead to Part of Your World, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what else you could possibly be looking for in this song.
Seriously.
Killed it.
Seriously.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Vocals, killed it. Acting, killed it. Visuals, killed it.
And there's a fantastic video that Halle posted on her Instagram. That's her, on set in the couple of days that they filmed that. And she's just talking about how emotionally exhausting it is to be in that place of like, really emotional, like longing, and like she calls it like a cry, like a desperate plea. And she gives like her acting of a song. Oh my God. And she was like 19 when she shot this movie. Oh my God.
And I also have a lot of respect for it, because she says, I was listening to an interview with her where she was talking about getting cast as Ariel, and she said that they called her in to audition for it, and she did it, and then she didn't hear for a very, very long time as they were auditioning hundreds and thousands of other people, and they all realized that the bar had been set with Halle, that she had this thing about her that they kept looking for in other people, and they just couldn't recreate, which when you watch the movie, you can see the thing. Yeah. There's something there's always something happening in her. Always. Yes.
And is so the essence of Ariel too, is like there's something that is like what Ariel has become, not even just from the animated movie, but just when you think of her in the Broadway version and the animated, it's in her. I can't even explain what it is. It feels so natural.
But she said that she was so surprised that she got called in for Ariel, because she was really excited. She thought she was going to be considered for one of the sisters.
Oh, my God.
She was like, I consider myself a singer first. And I'm like, girl, you are
You
not
can
just
act.
a singer first.
Oh,
I'm like,
my
you are an
God.
actor. You
Give
are
her-
an actor.
I'm really genuinely, I probably won't happen just timing wise. I genuinely mean this. I'm not just trying to like say it for the podcast. Give her an Oscar nomination.
Yeah. I think that this year Halle will get an Oscar nomination.
That would be
I think that
incredible.
she will get it for The Color
for
Purple.
The Color Purple.
And they will use that nomination
Yeah.
as sort of like a nod to her work
Right.
in The Little Mermaid
Right.
as well. But I will not be surprised if we see a Halle Bailey Oscar nomination this year.
I hope so.
Yeah. Part of your world, just when you think about the fact, and this, I have a lot of respect for some of the other actors who do these live action remakes. When you think about the fact that she's acting to nobody.
Oh my God.
All of her scenes with these creatures, she's acting to a puppet or someone's fist, and she's wearing like dots, and she has a wig cap that has dots on it so that they can animate the hair
she doesn't even
later.
get to see herself as Ariel because she's not on set. She's like half like covered in CGI stuff.
Yeah, she's creating all of this from nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just spectacular. It makes me think a lot of the boy who was in the Jungle Book, the live action Jungle Book, because that is a child who was acting to nothing and killed that movie. To the point where now I think there are 5 ways that Disney can do a live action remake of something, and I have my tops for all of them. Live action musical, Little Mermaid is the top. Live action non-musical, Cinderella is the top. Live action photorealism, Jungle Book is the top. Live action reimagining, so like changing up the story, it's probably Mulan for me, or Alice in Wonderland. And then live action villain origin story, Cruella takes the cake. So, but I'm like, I feel like we've now found the 5 formulas, and I feel confident. Rob Marshall just, God bless him.
Knocked it out of the park.
God bless him. Just really, really did it. So moving past part of your world, past the amazing, freaking gorgeous cinematography shot of her hand through.
I love the hand. And it's just the hand.
She's reaching, like she's actually trying to get something. This Ariel, she's not just in love with a guy.
Right.
It's like she's like a peacemaker, or like there's like a part of her that's like a diplomat or of some sorts, where she is trying to figure out a way to find harmony between the two, where it's not just Eric that's driving her to the human world. It's everything that's driving her to the human world.
And I remember when they teased that they were going to make the emphasis less so on Eric. I found when some movies and adaptations make that choice, it's a little heavy-handed. And this was super subtle. It was just, I was with it. It didn't feel like them saying to us, look, it's the feminist version of the story. It was just more well-rounded, which is what it deserves.
It was very delicate.
Yes.
I probably need to watch the movie like another 5 times to really be able to put my finger on what exactly the subtle shifts were. And probably a lot of it is in Halle's performance.
Yeah, it's Halle, and it's just like moving slightly around when certain parts of the plot happen. Yeah.
And what we're paying attention to. I think the cinematography was really, really good in this.
Some of these shots were just like, I want a print of it and I want to put it on my wall. I mean.
Yeah. Oh, I know what it is. Like when she's with Eric in Eric's grotto, which like
oh my God.
Eric has a grotto too. God, perfect choice ever. But when they're spending the day together in the rain, in his grotto, going through this stuff, and she's with him, it's not that she's just like, oh my God, I'm in love with you so much. Like when they're looking at the maps and he's like telling her about that, and then she just like full on unrolls another map, and he's like, oh, okay, I guess we're going on another one. Because in that moment, she's with him, but what is her focus on? The rest of the world.
Right.
That's the subtle shift that's happening.
And you said to me that you were like, this is what I wanted out of Beauty and the Beast. And I totally agree with you. That Beauty and the Beast was missing. I think Beauty and the Beast almost leaned too far the other way, and we were missing the connection between Belle and the Beast. So this struck the perfect balance.
And I think a lot of the connection comes from because Ariel has other things that she's passionate about, it means that Eric can fall in love with Ariel the way that we've been falling in love with Ariel, where we fall in love with her because she loves the human world and she's curious and she finds joy in little things and everything like that. And then when she's with Eric, we don't lose that of her. It's still there, and that's what he's falling in love with too.
Yeah.
It makes it all the more relatable. And the same reason why the reason she's falling in love with Eric isn't just because he's beautiful. She's listening to the things that he's saying about the world, like reaching out to other people and learning. And
and she says he's compassionate.
More.
Like that's the first thing that she says about him. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think that part of the connection between the two of them is just really stellar.
Oh, also, this is one of the things that I've been saving to tell you. I like every time we talked about this, and I was like, I'm not going to tell you right now. Speaking of Eric having his own grotto, that plus the fact that we get told that we suddenly find out that he was washed up on shore in his kingdom and he's adopted. I remember when we found that out, I'm thinking, okay, what would be the reason for that? Besides the fact that he's a mermaid also. I was convinced. And now I think about it and I know that would be way too much of a change for people to stomach. But like, I was like, okay.
And a lot in the movie overall.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
Packing a lot.
But I thought it was going to be like his grotto would be filled with everything related to the sea and the ocean. And I thought they would do that because I'm like, first of all, why make him adopted? But otherwise, the thing that makes a lot of people uncomfortable at the end of like the original animated Little Mermaid and the Broadway show too is that Ariel completely gives up her life to go be a part of Eric's world. So I was like, oh, the compromise is going to be he's actually a mermaid as well. And at the end, they're just going to live in both places. They're going to go back and forth between the land and the sea and be able to do that. But I would have been cool with it. I get why we couldn't have it, but I'm just saying, I thought that's what we were going to get.
I mean, I could definitely see a world in which Eric would be able to go. I mean, I also still think that it's kind of like left open where it's like, because Ariel gets to come back and she's going to be with her family for the next Coral Moon and everything. So we can assume that she's going to be able to be a mermaid again. I think we can also assume that Triton would be able to change Eric if he wanted to.
I hope.
But I also kind of like the idea that is sort of implied by the last image of the movie, which made me weep, of all of the mer people together with the people on land, that now both of those worlds, that island and the community of the merfolk that live near that island, that now they are working together. And so now Eric and Ariel serve as a vision of that union where he has a purpose to serve on land and she has a purpose that she can serve under the water as well. Because the other thing is, putting a pin in that, coming back for the final shot at the end of all of this, because the finale, there's a lot of
there's so much to unpack. Yeah.
There's so much in the finale. So after
oh my God, we're only up to the shipwreck. Help.
Yeah, we've got the shipwreck. Holy hell.
Ooh, that
shipwreck
that
was
in 4DX
good.
people.
Yeah, we were getting shook.
And there was some
wind.
There was rain.
There was wind. We were wet. It was good. But I love that they gave us Fathoms Below in this section.
Yeah, I love that.
And we get Ariel, her approach to the surface when she makes the choice to go to the above
oh my
world.
God.
Because when she makes that choice, it's not just, oh, what are those lights? Like it is in
it's like, I'm doing
animated.
this.
She was like, she's mad at her father already. And she's like, I'm going to make the choice.
It's like a straight shot right up to it, right up there. It's amazing.
And it is gorgeous. And oh my God, I could frame.
That's everything that moment should be.
Yes. And the music, the score behind it, it's just driving. And she gets up there and like, the fireworks are loud and big and the music is lively. And I liked that it isn't, when the shipwreck happens, it's not just like, oh, lightning happened to hit this sail. It's, they crashed.
Right.
Like they crashed into the rocks. Even Eric doing everything he could, like he crashes them. And then we get that moment.
One of the best moments of the whole movie.
And it is when Eric goes back to save Max and he grabs Max and he throws him into the water and Max is doggy paddling and everyone's like, come on, Max. And then all of a sudden you hear like the orchestra like strike up and you see a hand come from under the water and it's Ariel pushing Max along through the water.
That is
to
giving
get
me
him to
a
safety.
lump in my throat again. The first time I saw that, it broke me. Whoever came up with that idea, give them a bonus, give them a raise, like absolutely.
Because that's what Ariel would do. She's not just fixated on Eric in this.
Yeah.
She hasn't fallen in love with him just yet. Like, yes, there are things about him that she's learning to really like and be interested in, but her fascination is with the human world, and there's a tragedy that is happening and she's just trying to help, even to the point where we get to the part of your world reprise and she's singing the what would I do to see you smiling at me, where would we walk, where would we run, and everything. She's talking about him, but she's also like,
what would we do?
It feels to me that it could be him, but it also could be anyone else. That it's like, yes, she has like some feelings that are starting for him, but she's also still thinking about the world. Like she's interested in his world. It's just very
I love
subtle
just like
shifts that are happening. It's really good.
I love that it's like the moment that when she's hanging onto the side of the ship that Max sees her for the first time, she's petting him. She helps him onto the lifeboat. Then at the end of the movie, he fetches her, basically. I love that little connection between her and Max.
Yeah,
it's
with
so
Max.
Sweet.
Like there's a through line with her relationship with Max. And so there's a reason why Max is here and how Max like recognizes her immediately when she's there.
I love it.
It's not like the movie where it's like he's like just a curious dog.
Yeah,
and Max knows
and
who
I like
she
that
is.
in the movie she's like a little bit afraid of him. Like when he runs up to her when she finally becomes a human. And I just love in this that she like is comfortable with him.
He's such a good boy.
He's such a good
Gary.
Gary, the dog who played Max. We love you, Gary. Oh,
we love Gary. So let's do part of your world reprise. Listen, the frickin' shot, the transition of the Prince Eric statue hitting the bottom of the ocean floor, cutting immediately to Ariel laying Eric down in the exact same way.
Oh, wait.
Absolute genius.
But also the shot right before that of her holding him in the ocean and the waves just continuously covering them. Oh, my
going
God.
over them. And then it like goes to slow-mo and they like disappear in the wave.
Oh, my God. And there's
the
lightning.
Oh,
God. Woo.
Like it's like we're doing art, baby.
We're doing it.
Like this is, and it's still like the pose is the same pose from the animated film.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's more sophisticated. We're like Pirates of the Caribbeaning this shit.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's grittier. It's dark. It's raw.
Yes. Speaking of that, the way that she climbs across the rock as she starts singing is like she's possessed in the best way.
Yes.
Like it's like
the fingers
it's
across
creepy
the rock.
Almost, which I love. Like
where she's
I
like,
love that choice.
Because she's like gripping that rock because we're watching her make a choice. That's the thing. We watch her make the choice to go to the surface. We watch her make the decision that she is going to be a part of this world.
Yeah.
It's not the animated version where we see her like longing and like curious about it. Like,
right.
Maybe I'm gonna make this happen. She's like, no,
like, I'm
this
gripping
is gonna happen.
this.
She's like, come hell or high water, I am going to figure out how to be a part of this world. Fantastic. And I think it was such a good choice to make this. This is all happening on her first time ever going to the surface. So it's like we get to see a moment in Ariel that we didn't get to see in the animated version because she's already been to the surface. Like we get to see Ariel's first time on the surface, and it also happens to be the same rising action moment of the whole story, which I think is really good and makes that moment hit stronger.
Can we talk about Prince Eric? I think it's time.
Yeah, let's talk about Prince Eric. Thank God Harry Styles did not.
And I love me some Harry Styles, but not just this casting is
Jonah
prime.
Howard King is perfect. his interpretation of the character is fantastic.
And we have very high standards
twin.
for our Disney princes, and he exceeded for sure.
He just takes it. He's giving us, and listen, the animated Eric, there's not much happening for him. It's not really his fault. There's just not a lot for him. It's not really his story. We get this to be part like his story as well. We get to see who he is as a person outside of what Ariel sees of him.
Yeah.
Which I think is really helpful in terms of us as an audience buying into their relationship, that it's actually going to be healthy.
And I am in love. And you guys, I don't know if I've ever actually said it on the podcast. We've probably edited it out when I talk about Bad Cinderella and I talk about the trend that is happening with male romantic leads getting the softer songs and the longing romantic ballads. I love that we are moving in that direction because it just feels, it makes the whole thing feel so much less one-sided of just Ariel longing for him. Wild Uncharted Waters is so, every time I listen to it, I like it more. The first time I listened to it, I remember I texted you right after the night that it came out. What did I say? I don't remember what I said. I think I was like, okay. I think I can get on board with this.
I responded and I was like, I love this. And you're like,
and I was like, okay.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Because I think you were really expecting it to be her voice.
Because I love her voice. But this, you were right.
I love her voice too.
This is equal for me.
It gives us everything we needed from her voice, including some of the orchestrations of her voice. I love this song.
Some of these lyrics are like hot. Like
when we get to the second one, the over you, I cannot get over you. Like just such a simple lyric, but it's just like, I cannot get over you.
Yeah. Or he talks about,
I'm like, that's
and then he
what
talks
we've
about
say.
Her literally being over him. I mean, ooh, like, oh my God.
Oh, I know that does things to you. I mean, it was doing things to me. But
my God.
This song was everything I wanted it to be. I thought his delivery of the song was just
phenomenal.
He acted the song as well.
Yep.
I appreciated that, like, Disney's always going to like auto-tune these live actions a little bit, but they learned from Beauty and the Beast and eased up the gas pedal on the auto-tune and let Eric's voice be more raw, because that's what we want. We want to hear the acting.
Yes.
We want to hear what he's feeling. We don't need it to be a perfectly produced like studio recording, because what is perfect about this scenario? Nothing's perfect about it. We want to hear the longing. We want to hear all of it.
And like he does such a great job on a difficult song. That as usual,
that
these
song is
tenor songs are
easy.
no joke. And he really does it. Like you can feel like what he's doing is not assisted by autotune. It's like maybe cleaned up here and there, but he did it. He did it.
It's fantastic. I love it. And it's not necessarily that he's like, this person is the person I'm going to marry. He's just trying to find who it was who saved him. Yeah. Because he can't let go of this woman saved him. I loved it.
Honestly, Wild Uncharted Waters, I knew after I'd seen it the first time that was one of the parts of the movie I was looking forward to seeing again. That was my favorite part of the 4DX experience, because obviously there wasn't a ton of moving of the seats, but
it was wind, baby.
Having that song with the wind blowing in your face, oh my God.
Oh yeah, but then also when it transitions to him back on the ship,
and
we get squirted with water in the wind. I was like, oh, and he's drenched. He's drenched. Because also right before that, his mother, the queen, his adoptive mother, played by Noma Juzwani, who was like
fantastic.
Perfect.
Yes.
Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Put her in everything.
Please.
I saw her in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Me
when
too.
She played Hermione.
Oh God.
She's flawless, and she makes everything look easy, effortless,
and like grounded.
This was the only choice to make. It was just so real. None of it was coming from this like abusive place. It was just all loving, where she's like, no, we're not doing this.
And just like, I'm the queen, like I'm in charge. Like very just like,
and when
assuming.
she's talking to Grimsby and is like, how many shipwrecks have we had in this and he's like, and she's like, did you hear that? And he's like, yes, I heard that. Like there's humor in it as well. It reminded me of like, she is the serious sister
to Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg.
I had the same thought.
Like it feels like the two of them are, one is the wacky sister, and she rules this one kingdom.
In this multiverse.
And she's the more austere sister, but
absolutely.
the humor level is similar.
Yes, it's so true. Oh my God.
It's really good.
I want to be in whatever that multiverse is.
Grimsby as well was just amazing. But back to Wild Uncharted Waters, like he's on the ship no less than 5 minutes after his mother told him, "You're grounded."
I was thinking about that.
And he was just like, I have to.
Just like Ariel. They're just like, F that. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Her father says, "Don't go to the surface." And 5 minutes later,
like,
she sings a song, and 5 minutes later, she's on the surface. His mother tells him, "Don't leave the island." He sings a song, and 5 minutes later, he's off the island. And you're like, of course these two are going to be together.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. They're the same person.
And I think because of that, the change in Grimsby from being like, always like, "Oh, you're causing so much trouble, Prince Eric," and actually being helpful and kind was necessary because like this is a different Prince Eric as well.
Yes. And also I really like the fact that like the big bad of this story gets to just be Ursula and General Fear. That Triton is not bad, and he wasn't in the animated version. That the Queen is not bad. That Grimsby is not an obstacle to their relationship.
Right, and same with what we were talking about with Sebastian too. He's so much less of an obstacle and more of a help.
Yeah. Sebastian is an assistance, and he's not having to deal with Chef Louis either.
Oh, thank goodness that there was none of that. Thank goodness. I've had enough of that Chef Louis storyline.
I mean, I love me some Chef Louis. So appropriate for the animated version, so inappropriate for this.
Absolutely. Yes, agreed.
Because it would have just made it too silly. Like just
Yes.
Unbelievable that we've got to like the silly characters are our animals. Like Sebastian and Scuttle and Flounder, they can be silly. But everyone else is just really real.
Yeah.
But I like that our true big bad gets to be Ursula, and then just the fears of between the two, and that really Triton holds all the power even over the humans too.
Yes, I love
that they're afraid of the sea gods.
That again reminded me of everything I loved about the Twisted Tale of just like the two worlds really being able to influence each other. I love and her and the Queen talking about, you know, othering the mer people and being like, they are trying to take our land back. And like some of the modern connotations of that.
Yeah, she's like, the water is eroding from underneath of us. They're reclaiming this island for the water again. They're against us. And then he's like, I'm going to visit these other civilizations and he's like, I found this medicine that can cure malaria. And when she's like, and where is that? It's at the bottom of the sea right now. Because the sea gods are against. I'm like, this is the realism. This is the deepening.
Oh yeah, and the realism.
This is the deepening.
I mean, Javier Bardem. He treated this like the most serious role he has ever played, and I just love him for it. To me, I've heard some people say some things, or like, I don't know, the audience that we were in laughed at a part with him that I just don't find funny, that I found extremely touching, and it was very bizarre to me. Meanwhile, the first time I saw this movie, it was a very empty theater. When they cut to that shot of him looking at her in the boat at the end, I broke down. I thought it was such a beautiful shot. It was like, that was like an Oscars shot.
Because what he's looking at her with the same curiosity that she looks at the human world, because he's finally seeing her.
And he's just like staring at her.
But like, as she is supposed to be, he's like seeing you this way. He's like, this is where he's seeing for himself. This is right. And we get to watch him have that moment.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the film, for sure. That moment at the end.
I get that for you. I get that for you.
Oh,
but wait, hold on. Also, we need to talk about this island and the fact that we're setting this whole film in this sort of like Caribbean, Jamaica.
And I was always like, how can they top the animated Eric's Palace? But this was just as good for me, especially at night.
Well, and it's because of the realism too, where it's like, oh, we buy into this place, and the like palm trees and the
open verandas, and the chandeliers,
yes, the aesthetics
wow.
the aesthetics were as right as they got them for Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella.
Agree.
Like the aesthetics matched perfectly.
Agree.
Where I almost felt like we went over with the like Rococo stuff in Beauty and the
Agreed.
Beast.
No,
where
it wasn't
like
it wasn't the
shoved
right
down our
aesthetic.
throat.
Yeah.
It felt like we have everything is lined up exactly where it needs to be, and it's there. It can be the star of its own if you want it to be, or it can fade into the background if you're looking at something else. And that's right. Where like Beauty and the Beast like forced us to look at it. It's like, look at how many swirls we got into the staircase, and it's like, help! I'm dizzy. Let's move to the destruction of the grotto. The shadow of the trident over her face when she goes into the grotto, and you just hear his voice.
When they released the trailer with him saying you broke the rules, that was another time for me that I was like, oh, this is going to be some real shit. Like real stakes. Oh, I love it.
Well, because there is fear in her eyes when he's saying this, because he's freaking intimidating. He's Javier Bardem. He's No Country for Old Men. He's Skyfall.
Yeah.
He's Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And when he explodes that statue and she just has the hand and she's holding it.
And she can't really cry. Oh.
And then that's when Ursula comes. Even though we've seen her through a couple cutscenes, which I was so grateful that we got the same like cutscenes from the animated film down to the first time that we see Flotsam and Jetsam and their eyes glow and then they become one in the bubble, because that is such an iconic moment.
That was always burned into my memory as a kid. Yes.
And the fact that they did it for this, I was like, thank you. I'm like, that's cool. Because I wasn't expecting them to do that. I wasn't expecting them to try and make that happen, but they were like, no, we're going to make that happen. And we get Ursula, who is not a squid. She is an octopus in this version, because octopi have 8 legs, squids have 6. And the reason why they did 6 in the movie, as Pat Carroll says, is because it is cheaper to animate 6 legs as opposed to 8. In this time, they were like, we've got the money, honey.
Wait, let's go for it.
They gave us all 8.
I love that Ursula not only has the power to like watch people through a little bubble, but can appear to others in the bubble as well.
Also, because we've gotten to see Melissa McCarthy do the Ursula things, the like wasting away to not like all of those wonderful moments, because we know that she's bad. But then watching her appear to Ariel, and then she's like, "What has your father told you about?" Me?
And she's like, whatever you want, sweetie, I'll go.
And she's just like really like playing it.
Yeah,
this is by far the best work I've ever seen from Melissa McCarthy. And I have always been a huge Melissa McCarthy fan. I think she is one of the great comedic talents that we have right now. She's just a plethora of choices. It's just so good. But watching her do this has just been like such a joy. And I know there are a lot of people who are like, listen, we wanted to see a drag queen play the part because Ursula, her design was inspired by Divine and things like that. But Melissa McCarthy comes from an appreciation of drag and queer culture. She started her career doing drag in New York City. So you couldn't have asked for a better person. And this woman, acting, comedic moments, her voice.
Yeah, she did a great job with the voice. Woo!
She gave us all the nods that we needed to Pat Carroll's performance while still being her own, adding little nuances that are completely hers. I love when she appears in that bubble and Ariel goes, "The sea witch?" And she goes, "The what?"
Oh, so good.
Just
so good.
So good.
It's like her doing that and Aquafina going, yeah, saw. Just little things like that. I love those things. And I feel like Melissa McCarthy, like she did like Ursula. She was Ursula. I think she did like the best job she could possibly do. So this literally has nothing to do with her at all. I think I'm asking too much of these. Maybe my mind has just been like messed up ever since I started reading the Twisted Tales, and I keep wanting to like, I don't know, Wicked this and just make it like a whole other backstory for everybody. I think And I don't think it was possible. It was the better choice not to do this. I think what I personally wanted was, what's the new spin on this character what's the new spin? And there wasn't one.
Mhm.
And I was a little bit disappointed by that personally. And I missed, you've talked about something before in terms of the rivalry between Triton and Ursula that I want you to talk about. But I also missed, like, we have little like polypy type things that grab Ariel in this as she enters Ursula's lair. I miss the very clear indication that you mess with Ursula, you become a polyp. Like, your soul is stuck there with her. I like when that's a little bit more literal, because I also enjoy later in the animated movie when Triton becomes a polyp. And you have also talked about maybe Vanessa is like someone who's a polyp and Ursula's using her body. I like that. I wanted us to learn a little something more about Ursula in this, and we just don't. Like, she's the same. We could have used a little something deeper from her.
So there are a couple things that I would probably have to say to this. One, I would not be surprised if they are leaving Ursula's story open for a villain origin story. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, let's not touch Ursula all that much, because we might want to do that in the future, which I 100% think that they should do. Give it the Cruella treatment. Do like a young Ursula. My whole idea of like Ursula and the Queen are best friends, and Ursula is in some way responsible for the Queen's death, and that leads to like
especially
exile,
because Ariel says, when she says, what has your father told you about me? She says, you stir up trouble between humans and mer people. I thought we were going to get something out of that.
See, I got just enough. Okay. I was satisfied with it by having those little things that were kind of open-ended.
Yeah.
Because I did get a couple flavors of Ursula that we didn't get in the animated. Like watching her interaction with Triton at the end when she's like, I want to see you suffer. Like it got dark and sinister, and you could see moments when Melissa McCarthy was dropping the comedy, which is something that Ursula in the animated film never really lets go of the comedy part until like the very end. But there are moments where we see Ursula drop the comedy, and that there's something darker beneath that, and that I was really responding
I wanted them to be more explicit with me, but I did love. But that's the thing, is like one of my favorite moments of hers when she's looking for the potion or the bottle or whatever.
Where is it?
Hilarious. I love those moments so much. I think that's what I mean when I say like I could do with a little bit with fewer homages to the animated, because I want these new moments of Ursula. I want to see that when Ursula's looking for something, she blames everybody else for moving it. Like, I think that's hilarious.
And that her tentacles have their own personalities. Yeah. She's talking to the tentacles as if they're own people.
Yeah.
Though I will say, I did like the sort of, I was very jarred going into Ursula's lair. Like, yes, we didn't have the polyps, but that shot as it pans down and you have the mer person skeleton.
Yeah.
That was pretty shocking. And then all of the skulls that she has. And then when she straight up murders, no pun intended, King Triton, like he was like a skull and he was gone. I was like, dust. Shit. I'm like, he's dead. I kind of liked that we did that where it was like, oh no, this is fine. Because I went into that last battle going, I actually don't know how this movie's going to end.
When she just like made him dust, I literally, the first time I saw it, there were no kids around. It was fine. I went, oh, shit.
Oh, I did the same thing. I went, shit. And my nephew was around. So.
Also, if you see it, if all the 4DX screenings have not disappeared, when the little polypy type things grab Ariel in this version, you get punched in the back.
You get punched in the back. I knew it was going to come. I leaned over to Caroline. I was like, get ready to have the fuck punched out of you. And it happened. It was like, it was so good. Poor Unfortunate Souls was amazing. We got my favorite line of the whole movie, which is when Ariel transforms and Ursula goes, look at her stupid little feet.
Like what?
It's so funny. It's so good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I wanted something different.
But let's go to the surface with our girl Ariel and
getting picked up in the fishing net and like, it was sad. It was like, I love those more like those vulnerable moments they gave her where she's literally just in a net covered in seaweed. Oh my God, it broke my heart.
But the fact that like to us and to the fishermen who found her, it's seen as like a really like traumatic, horrific moment.
Yeah.
But she is not seeing it that way.
Yeah.
Because she's looking at her feet and it's like, holy crap.
She's like, oh my God.
Feet.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was very interesting that we're in a different place than she is in that moment.
And I just did enjoy that they kept referencing that everyone in this kingdom is like, the shipwrecks have been nonstop. Look, like this is just someone else washed up from another one. Like I'm really, I enjoyed.
And that they take her to the castle, and that's where we meet La Charlotte,
I think. Yes.
Yeah, the Carlotta character, who is amazing.
So great.
So good. And this is when we get the new song for the first time, which happens inside Ariel's head. And it's her experiencing things for the first time. So listen, first time I heard this, I was like, I don't know.
Same.
Again,
because I was a little bit tied to Beyond My Wildest Dreams from the Broadway show, which I love.
And see, I didn't particularly like Beyond My Wildest Dreams because I also was like, I don't know if I need a song here. And then I kept listening to this song over and over again, and it grows on you, and you do need a song here. And what sells it is the bridge. When the camera spins around and the background turns to black and we go into her head and we get to see Hallie singing full out. I was like, thank you, Rob Marshall. It was like he took the moments from Chicago that I love so much because I thought it was like the brilliant conceit of Chicago of like all the music numbers are happening inside their heads. And put that in this, and I was like, that is brilliant. That is what I wanted to see. And her like talking about like he's gonna come through those doors, he's coming up the stairs, and I'm like, it's building the anticipation because one of the things that's so cool is you get to see all of the things happening correctly. Like that's the thing about this is I know how this story goes. We all know how this story goes, but there were still things that I was finding where I'm like, wait, I don't know how this is gonna go because they get her to the palace right away. La Charla is like putting things together and she's like, I'm going to go get the prince. She's like, she's probably it. Everyone's putting, and you're like, holy shit, this could actually happen.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't, but you really go for the ride. And I thought the score, that bridge moment, the score in the bridge, it's just like building the anticipation. I was like, oh shit, are we doing this? Are we doing this? And then we're not.
Yeah.
And I really love it. So the more I listen to that song,
as soon as I saw it in the movie, I was happy with it. Yeah, listening to it before seeing the movie without it, I was like, yeah. I want one more song for Ariel in this, I feel like.
Yeah, I did like that they gave a third reprise of Part of Your World.
That I need to give that a moment. Holy moly, that broke my little heart. It's so good.
The place that they put it
and like,
this is skipping ahead a little bit.
I know.
But this is after she finds out that Vanessa's around and it's not her. And the shot of underwater looking at her against the sun,
and her
like through
dress
the wavy
just
water.
In the water. Yeah, because
and
I just love that it's like her heart is broken and she's going back to the place that's familiar to her, which is the water, which is so sad because she's like, how did I end up back here where the place where I started? And I just love Betcha on land. They understand and they won't strand you brokenhearted. Oh my God.
And like she's on that rock.
It's so sad. It's the only thing for some reason, Little Mermaid, my favorite moment is often that moment when things are falling apart for her. I don't know why. When she's crying watching the wedding ship float away in the animated, it kills me every time. And then one of my favorite parts of the Broadway show is the If Only quartet of just like when she just sees everything falling apart. And so if we can't get something beautiful like that quartet or some sort of song in that moment, this was the best option.
Yeah, for some reason it didn't occur to me watching the animated film that like, oh, there should be a song happening here.
Yeah.
And then when this happened, I was like, of course there should be a song happening here. I'm like, this is exactly it. And just Hallie, god damn, Hallie, you're just so
breaking
talented.
My heart. Yeah.
Unfair. But let's jump back again. Next is when we get introduced to Eric's grotto for the first time. And I swear, I was in the movie theater when he finds her and she's holding that jade mermaid and he goes, "Oh, my Little Mermaid."
Oh.
I threw my arms back and went, "Oh." I was not ready for that. I was awakened and shaken, and it was everything.
It.
That whole scene is everything. We took time with the two of them. We've had time with them on their own. We've had time with them pining for each other.
Yeah.
And now we have time with them together, a lot of time with them together, so that we can say, okay, yeah, this relationship could actually work. They have things in common with each other and they're able to find them even without a voice. Like, he's not just falling in love with like watching her do things. Like, he is able to, he and Ariel have figured out a way of communicating with each other. Yes. So that like, even if to the point where he decides later that he's going to stop all of the searches for this other girl because he's found it in Ariel and is content to have her as she is, not being able to speak. Kill me.
I know.
What a good, oh my God. But the two of them in his grotto, the rain, the candlelight.
Yeah, put me in there. I love it.
Is flawless. And then the decision to take the carriage the next day, which the carriage ride in 4DX. Our seats were like a little bit
They
broken.
started breaking at that point, and we were like, wait, we watched everybody else around us get thrown around.
Their necks are being broken.
We were like bumping along. Everyone else was like, whoa.
Yeah, so it might have been good because we also had gone to Margaritaville before and had a lot to drink. And so it was probably they knew that we were coming and probably they were like, let's
tone
scale
that down
this one back. Because they're going to throw up in their little souvenir blender cups. But I absolutely adored this scene in the village, the marketplace, Jodie Benson's cameo where she hands the dingle hopper to Hallie and says, "I think you're gonna need this."
Yeah,
like beautiful. His hat. His hat.
I love the hat moment.
Listen, I do not like sand at all. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. But they're all dancing in the sand and throwing it in the air. And I was like, this looks like a good time.
Oh, also, I love that she thinks everything is edible from the soap to the flour.
Oh, yes.
I love that.
The soap is edible. The flour is just like, when in doubt, eat it.
Eat it.
That's the choice.
So charming.
But then I just love that like they're having this wonderful day. There's so many moments that like they're falling for each other.
Yeah, and when they're back in the carriage and it's twilight, Connor heard me say this when he's just like, I just love this time of night. It looked so beautiful on the screen that I was just like, me too.
Yes.
It just looks so amazing,
and we were fully immersed. So we were like, yep. Mm-hmm. But I also love that against all of this is also juxtaposed Sebastian, Scuttle, and Flounder being like, she has no idea what she has to do right now.
Yeah.
And we have to do that. So like she's enjoying herself, but we have to figure out what to do. And then the plan, starting with Scuttle stealing the hat, throwing it in the rowboat. I just loved all of those little details.
And I just love also
the waterfall.
The water for the backside of water. I love that they figure out her name together rather than Sebastian whispering it in his ear.
Just
adorable moment. Literally her touching his lips. Okay.
Because they can communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Also, that was the moment in the theater where our seats definitely were not working and all the other ones were rocking back and forth.
They're having their romantic scene talking about the constellations and all we hear is
hydraulic seats are going and they're like rocking back and forth.
We had to come back. I went to the stratosphere for a second and I really had to come back.
It was so funny. Kiss the Girl, the new lyrics, you don't even really notice them.
Yeah, people made such a big deal. That's why some of these things in the media, I'm just like, just let people come to them. It's not that big of a deal. Like, please.
It really wasn't that big of a deal and makes that song resonate a little bit better. And it fits these characters better than...
Yeah.
Because it is, like, there is consent there between the two of them.
Yeah, because it's not like Ariel's just sitting there passively. She just has no idea that she needs to do that.
She has no idea what she needs to do. So we need you to do it.
Yeah.
And
Love
believe
that.
me, she wants to, but she just doesn't
know that
remember
that we've
what
got a
she
time
has
crunch
to do.
on this.
Yeah. And then them falling in and
oh my gosh,
the
when they get
water.
back to the castle and he's whispering to her because they're coming back late and he's just like talking about how everything, he's like, I wasn't born to this and it makes me feel uncomfortable. The way that he's whispering to her in the corner. Ooh.
And then
so charming.
Him talking with Grimsby and Grimsby telling him Ariel's the one that you want. Oh, but then when he says good night, Ariel.
Oh, after she puts the hat back on.
She puts the hat because she's wearing the hat.
Yeah. The whole thing.
Give these people a hat and they will make the most of it. That's the hottest hat I've ever seen. Like, oh my God. But then him outside with the sand in his hands, looking at the waves,
God.
figuring out what he's going to do.
That was sexual.
It was.
Him kneading the sand, please.
It was. And then he's running to her. Running. He's hustling. And then fucking Vanessa.
Oh my God. But let me tell you, my anticipation to see Vanessa, but the first time I saw it, I was so excited for her to get there.
I really liked that. He's like hunting for the voice and it feels like she's everywhere and nowhere.
Yes.
And then
she's
just,
like halfway in the water. Like she's with a dress
he,
on,
looks
but
and
in
she's
the water.
not there. And then like in the fog, just sitting there. Oh my God.
So good.
Jessica Alexander, who plays Vanessa in this film.
She made a meal out of this. Everything that she could do with it, she did.
There's nothing more you could have done with this part. She made every choice. She made the impression of a lifetime. Absolutely incredible. And this is coming from someone who I thought that they should have had Chloe, Hallie's older sister, play Vanessa and like have some sort of thing where Ursula manipulates like a soul of like another mermaid or whatever and has that person be Vanessa, and so that we could have Chloe in there, because that's like the only if I have a duo with my sister and my sister gets to be freaking Ariel, the only saving grace is that I get to be Vanessa and ruin it.
Oh my God. Also, y'all, go to Jessica's Instagram because she has lots of close-up shots of the costumes. The boots, the satin boots she's wearing have tentacles embroidered on them. I love the gown and the lingerie that we see little glimpses of it as Scuttle is watching her through the window. The lingerie that she is wearing, there's a shot of her in full body in it. It's like her ass is out. Like they went there. They went there with these two costumes.
So you.
Oh my God.
But Jessica Alexander, she is performing and she is giving the lip sync performance of her life.
Yeah.
Because she's lip syncing to Hallie and Melissa McCarthy. And
when we get
herself.
when we hear her speak where she's like explaining how she saved Eric, like just so well done, so manipulative and like, oh my God.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know if heroism is the right word for it, but I guess I did save him.
She's so good. I love
and I'm
her.
like, that's so freaking good.
Oh,
I liked that only her singing voice was Hallie's, that Jessica got to like talk for herself.
Yeah.
Because that is what she like stole in the thing. It's just the song.
Because more this, even though it's her voice, what it's often referred to as it's her siren song. It's the singing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then holy shit, the cat fight.
I'm just so glad that we did that. You know what I mean? And we didn't shy away from that. Yeah.
Let Ariel fight
Take her down. Yes.
They got vicious.
I'm so glad that it wasn't Scuttle doing that. It was Ariel taking her down. Yes.
Yeah, because she's taking her voice back. She's like, no, this wasn't fair. You manipulated all of this. No, this isn't what I signed up for. And then we get to see Jessica Alexander give the horror film Grudge Samara performance of a lifetime, just screaming, and then the laughing when she's too late, and the crazy eyes, and then we get the freaking incredible shot of Melissa McCarthy, Ursula, grabbing Hallie, and then just the wide shot plunge off the cliff into the water. Come on.
And then as
that
they're
was
swimming,
like Elizabeth Swan falling off the freaking thing.
It was. And then having the dress get caught on a rock as they're swimming and rip off.
So good.
Again, whose idea was that? Give them a raise.
Give them a raise. Give all of them a raise. And then we get, I guess we're going straight into like the finale parts. I also love they sort of like fix the plot hole of like Ariel knowing how to write and things like that, where the contract isn't signed by her writing her name. Where
it's a blood oath.
It's a blood oath,
which was
the scale.
Yeah, it fucked me up a little. Like when she got her tail back, it still had the bleeding scale. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I like
scary.
that. That was good stuff.
Yeah,
but like when Triton tries to attack Ursula and he can't.
Oh my God,
that bubble thing with magic. And then he dies and Ursula tries to kill Eric because we get a shot-for-shot harpoon moment from the animated film in which we also got stabbed in the back at the 4DX when the harpoon hit. And then she accidentally kills Flotsam and Jetsam away.
We see her heartbroken, which I loved as well. She was like my babies. Yeah.
And then the rage happens and she turns into this giant Kraken.
I like what they did with this where she's like this smoky face or whatever it is.
Yeah, and there are like gills on her side of her face.
Again, for me, I was like, sure. Can we do anything other than gigantic Ursula? No, not really. Again, so much of it was shot for shot for me that I was like, But I do really like what they did with that visually. She looked like she was made of like black sand.
She was great. And honestly, if we didn't get giant Ursula, I would have been pissed.
Yeah, no. I'm here for giant Ursula.
But I did think that they changed this because Eric isn't driving the boat.
Right. No, definitely. And I love that. But I remember always thinking when I was a kid, I was like, does that sharp part of the boat really kill her? And I found that hard to believe in this as well. I wish there was some other way that Ariel could have destroyed her. That was a little bit different. Because I find the little ship thing a little bit odd. Like just sticking her with like the pointy end of a ship. It's strange to me.
Because we also get the image of like the tentacles wrapped around like the shipwreck taking them down. And I think it also is fitting with like shipwrecks being a theme.
Yeah, I don't know. This team is just so brilliant. Like they came up with so many other brilliant things. And I'm like, I bet if you all had decided to change it, we could have come up with something really cool. But
no, because I was in love watching Ariel in her fins dragging herself up the boat to the helm to drive that boat into Ursula and save Eric.
Does she have to die like a deflated balloon though? I'm just not sold. I don't know what it is.
I didn't think she deflated. Like she didn't shrink back down. It looked like a Kraken that died. Because she also like holds the ship like kind of into herself and like collapse down from her center, and the tentacles are the last thing that come. I liked it. You're wrong.
I'm right.
No, I am.
It's too simple. It's too easy and lazy, but whatever.
But then the trident, and Ariel has to make the choice of either helping Eric back to the surface or going after the trident. And she makes the choice to go after the trident and leave Eric on his own.
But what do you think like, what does she think in that moment? Like, it's going to disappear if she doesn't grab it?
I think in that moment, she's like, I caused my father's death. I can either have what I want, or I have to take the trident and commit myself to the sea. I think that's like, I think she's prepared to.
Because I thought we were going to have a moment where, like, I don't know, whatever, there's some kind of rule where if it falls to the ground, it doesn't work anymore. But then it literally just like touches the ground and it brings him back to life. So it was an odd moment for me.
Oh, for me, I thought it was whoever claims the trident next becomes ruler of the ocean.
Okay.
And I thought it was her going to like give up her dream of life on shore and like
just
commit
like
herself
the
to the ocean.
Twisted tailbuck.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
If they had killed Triton, that would have been a twist. Oh my God.
But then Triton comes back because we need to resolve the parental side of the story, which is a major side of the story, so much so that we end with it.
Whew.
But then after Triton says, acknowledges that she fought for him. And she says that I didn't fight alone. Eric fought with me. And then he says, all that matters is that you're safe now and you're home. We cut to Eric coming out of the ocean, going to shore, and his mother is there and everyone is there. And he's like, we have to go after her. And the queen basically apologizes and is like, no, I didn't realize she was very real, as were your feelings for her. But our worlds were never supposed to be together. And then Eric lets the dress go into the water
That
again,
shot.
and the film fades to black, which I think is the most fantastic choice they could have ever done, because it tells us all this is where the fairy tale ends. It does not have a happy ending. The two of them do not end together. The Little Mermaid becomes sea foam.
Yeah, I wish that there had been a little bit of sea foam around the dress, just as a little homage. Woo.
And I love that if you want to, you could
Stop
let that
the
fade to
film.
black happen and stop the film and get a different version of The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
But because it's Disney and they've ended this differently, we fade back up and we get to see the ending carry out exactly as we would expect or would hope.
I can't believe how much I'm talking about this. I guess I really liked it. But if you're into that, read The Twisted Tale, because it literally is like The Twisted Tale kind of picks up where, like, if that's what happened, we fade to black there. The Twisted Tale kind of picks up right there. Very interesting.
Yeah. But that fade to black, I think, is probably one of the best choices that they made in that entire movie. And I was like,
and that dress shot, shot of the dress.
I'm like, this is where the story ends.
If you showed me that dress shot, and that was the only thing that you previewed to me of this movie, I'd be like, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah.
And so then we're ending the movie, and she's back on that rock, looking at him. That rock, the claw rock, the sobbing rock. It's a good rock, and she's there again. And Triton, that good zoom in to him as he's transforming her.
Yeah.
So good. And then Eric is up there and he's playing fetch with Max. And then Max comes back and he looks and Ariel is there. And then the party happens and everyone's in white and she's in a pink version of her dress, which I know a lot of people are not pleased with, including Caroline. She's not as pleased with this dress.
I just wanted another silhouette, something else. I live for the costumes in these, and so I just wanted a little something more. It didn't have to be a wedding gown. It didn't have to be. Just something else.
I understand the choice because of like the climate and everything, why she's wearing like a linen thing. And he's wearing the exact same outfit that he was wearing 5 seconds ago. But I think it also goes with this theme that Disney is doing where they're not implying a marriage anymore at the end of these live action remakes. It's more just like a celebration. Yeah. And the two of them are just going off to see the world kind of moment. They're going to uncharted waters, whatever. And then they get onto the boat and he's rowing her out to the ship. And then he stops because he sees King Triton pop out of the water. And he sees him before she does.
Yes, which I love.
And then that's when Triton is just like looking at her. And then they have their moment and he says, you shouldn't have had to lose your voice in order for me to hear you, but I'm listening.
God.
Oh, and then all the mer people are there and they come out. Oh, I'm going to start crying just now thinking about it. And they look beautiful and they're all among the people and she's looking out at their worlds together again on the surface, which is such a huge deal because that means that all of these people, all these mer people are going up to the surface. That means that the rule has been lifted. Yeah. And all of them are free to go to the surface. And then she hugs him and we see her cries and she goes, she says, I love you, Father.
I also the subtle change from daddy to father. Thank you for that. Whoever decided on that just helps. It helps. It helps make her less infantilized, which I am always a fan of. So yes.
And then he gives her the push on the boat.
Oh my God. Yeah. And the
sends her
last
off?
shot of this is them in kind of like a rocky part of the water.
In like silhouette against the sunset.
And they're both looking in different directions. She's like looking back. He's kind of like looking down, rowing. And that's the last way that we see them. We don't see them in a kiss with a rainbow over them. It made me a little uneasy.
The man and the Oh, I loved it. Because it was
I liked that I felt uneasy, but it was that's the thing. That's what I'm looking for. It surprised me. That's what I like.
Because it's like, and the story isn't over. Like it's on to the next adventure. Like they're both looking out for whatever the next thing is going to be. And I love the way that the camera stays with them as they're going in silhouette against the sunset on the water. And then the camera stops and allows the boat to go out of frame. And then we're just on the water again. And then it's black. And that's the end of the film.
Yeah, like, wow. Again, that was a risky choice. That was a risky choice.
It was the more artistic choice.
Yeah, and it stuck with me. I'll tell you that.
It.
And like I said, it made me feel a little uneasy in a way that I want to feel. I don't want it to be expected. And I loved how it ended. I loved it.
So we hated this movie, as you can tell.
You know what I did want though? I wanted some kind of cover of something over the credits. I just didn't want Under the Sea again. I wanted something else. Give me somebody's cover of Wild Uncharted Waters.
That's how the animated film ends too. It ends with Under the Sea. I want something
else. I wanted somebody's cover of Wild Uncharted Waters.
Beauty and the Beast did the first like cover.
Right. Yeah.
R&B cover.
Especially because of the way that this movie ends on that more ambiguous note. Going back to Under the Sea felt weird to me.
And the film was dedicated to Howard Ashman. Which was a really beautiful dedication to see. I wish that they also could have dedicated it to Pat Carroll too.
Yeah.
But it was really nice that they did the nod towards Howard Ashman, because this movie, the animated film, would not have happened without Howard Ashman. Howard Ashman is the reason we have Little Mermaid. He pushed for it, and it was one of his babies. So rest in peace, and also happy Pride, Howard Ashman. Any other final thoughts that you want to say about this movie?
I've been wrung out like a washcloth. I've said it all.
Yeah. I'm going to go see it again. I want to collect all the formats, so I'm going to go back and see it in IMAX, and I'm going to see it in Dolby. And
I don't know. Can they screen it underwater? Like, what else can we do? Like,
oh my
scuba
God.
version?
I want to do what Courtney did from Book of the Mouse Club, and she watched 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea outside at night on a projector in a pool. I want to watch Little Mermaid outside at night in a projector in a pool.
Oh, yes.
That's what I want.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, if you liked this episode and stuck with us, please remember to hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so that all the episodes download to your device, including these bonus episodes, and you don't miss out on anything. And this is when you hit 5 stars and leave that written review. It means so much to us and helps other people find the podcast. So thank you very much for doing it. And thank you so much for listening to this one.
And please follow us on social media. If you don't already, we are at Poor Unfortunate Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And we are at Unfortunate Pod on Twitter. Definitely take a look at the socials, because I will surely be making a reel of our day at the 4DX and everything it entailed. You definitely want to see it.
We took some footage of us riding these chairs.
We did. And please, if you want even more Poor Unfortunate Podcasts in your life and you want to speak with us and other listeners about your experiencing the movie, we've already got some great conversations happening in the Poor Unfortunate Fam, which is our private Facebook group. So we would love to get to know you better there and talk more and more about this film, because honestly, we could talk about it forever. So please come on down.
And as I always say, it does take us a little bit of money to keep the podcast up and running and coming to you. We do have a PayPal account, and it's linked in our episode description and in all of the links on our social media accounts. Truly, anything that you have to spare goes a long way for us. It could be $1, $5, $10, more than that. It could be a one-time donation. It could be a recurring monthly donation. It all just goes right back into the podcast, helping us keep it free and ad-free for the most part. And thank you to all of our monthly donors. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you. Thank you. All right. I think we did The Little Mermaid the justice that it deserves, being our namesake.
Yes, our namesake. So this is going to be a special one. Here we go.
This is going to be a special one. Until next time, Beluga Sevruga.